Let's make these homemade cinnamon rolls using the bread machine.
Hey y'all, welcome to Robin on the Farm. Today I'm going to share with you a cinnamon roll recipe that I make using the dough cycle on my bread machine. These cinnamon rolls are fantastic. Whenever my kids have friends over, I usually make them some kind of treat, maybe some brownies or cookies, but cinnamon rolls are their absolute favorite. And I kind of have the reputation around that I make the best cinnamon rolls. That's what the kids tell their moms. So I love that. And truthfully, one of the reasons I make them cinnamon rolls is because I always have the ingredients on hand and they're super cheap to make. Only uses like pantry staples, things I have in my fridge. So they're cheap to make, they're filling, they're yummy, they love them. So I'm gonna share with you the recipe. I do like using the dough cycle on my bread machine for this recipe even better than using a mixer. For some reason the dough just turns out better using the dough cycle. So let me just show you how to make it. This is a great recipe. I know you're gonna like it. Okay, to start with, we want 1 cup of warm milk. I just popped this in the microwave for 30 seconds to take the chill off. So 1 cup of warm milk. This is whole milk. I think you could really use any kind of milk that you want. Okay, so 1 cup of warm milk. Then we want 1 stick of melted butter. So this is a 1/2 cup of melted butter. Let's put that right on into your bread pan. Okay. Now we want 2 eggs. I went ahead and cracked them so I didn't have to wash my hands, but just 2 eggs. You don't have to mix them up or anything, just cracked, put them right into your bread pan. Okay, now we want 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Now you can do anywhere from a teaspoon to a tablespoon of vanilla. I really like 2 teaspoons. Use whatever you want. 2 teaspoons. This is my big thing of vanilla that I get at Costco. They have pretty good vanilla there. Okay, after you get your vanilla in your bowl, then you're gonna want a 1/2 cup of sugar. Okay, so this is just plain white sugar. Just throw a 1/2 cup into your bread pan. Okay, this is a 1/4 cup, that's why I'm doing 2 of them. So a 1/2 cup of sugar, and then it's time for our flour. Now you're gonna want 4 cups of all-purpose flour. You could use bread flour, but I just always use all-purpose for this recipe. So 4 cups, all-purpose flour, just throw it right into your bread pan on top of everything else. That's 3. Sometimes I lose count. Okay, so that's 4 cups of all-purpose flour. Now we want a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Okay, so just throw that on in there too on top. Our next ingredient is yeast. We're gonna want 1 tablespoon of yeast for this recipe. If you use those little packets, then you can just get away with using 1 packet because that's just a little bit less than a tablespoon. So that's totally fine. This is my active dry yeast. I store it in the freezer and I get it out just in time to make bread. It'll stay good forever that way. So those are all of the ingredients for our delicious cinnamon rolls. So I'm gonna just throw it into my bread maker. This is my Zoja Recipe bread machine. I love this thing so much. Okay, now I'm just gonna select the dough cycle. There it is. It's 1 hour and 28 minutes. So on your bread machine, if it's about 1 hour and a half, that's perfect. Press start and let the bread machine do all the mixing, kneading, rising. And in 1 hour and a half, it'll be time to roll out this dough, put the yummy filling on it, and cut them into cinnamon rolls. So I will show it to you at that point. All right, I'm just gonna check on my dough. It's only been a couple minutes since I started the bread machine. The dough is looking great. Not too tacky, not too sticky. It's looking really good. It's not too dry. So this is what I want it to look like. I'm just now gonna shut the door and let it go. It's been 1 hour and a half. Whoa, my dough rose really high. Look how good that looks. So that is what your dough should look like at the end of the dough cycle. Now, normally it doesn't actually rise that much, and I'm thinking it's because it's a really hot day. So if yours doesn't rise this much, that is totally okay. You probably want it at least to maybe here. But there it is. It's looking good. Now it's time to get it out and make them into cinnamon rolls. All right, here's my dough. Like I said, it rose a ton today, but that is great. Okay, so now I'm gonna just punch it down. Here it goes, it deflates really fast, see that? Okay, once it's nice and punched down, I'm just gonna pull it out of my bread pan Make sure you don't have your paddles in it. And let's just look at this dough. Oh, it looks nice. Oh, it smells buttery. I can smell the vanilla. This is gonna be awesome. Okay, I'm gonna put this dough aside really quick and I'm gonna make the filling that's gonna go inside of our cinnamon rolls. So, to do that, we're gonna use 1 stick of softened butter. You don't really want it melted, you just want it softened. So, I just put this in the microwave, maybe 25 seconds. So you can see it's soft, but it's not melted. Okay, so 1 stick or a half a cup of softened butter. And to that, I'm gonna add 1 cup of brown sugar. This is dark brown sugar, but I usually use light brown sugar, but dark brown or light brown, whichever one you wanna use. And to that, we're gonna add 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. You can always add a little more, a little less, depending on how you like it to taste. But 1.5, I think, is perfect for these. So 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. And this is optional, but I find that when you add a tablespoon of cornstarch, it makes it kind of creamy. I like it. I think Cinnabon uses this method, so I'm gonna do 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Okay, and that is all there is to the filling. Now, I am just gonna use this rubber spatula and mix it up really good till there's no clumps and it's nice and spreadable looking. That is what I'm going for. Okay, I've just taken a minute just to mix this up really well. You can see we have like a paste-like consistency. I've found that when I've melted the butter a little bit too much and my filling is a little runny, sometimes that can make my dough seem a little soggy. Like it's almost like it's undercooked when they're all done. So I like to use like a paste. So this is looking really great. So hopefully you can see this. It's a nice paste. So now I'm gonna put this aside. I'm gonna get my dough ready. So here is our dough. It's looking great. Okay, so I am going to just press it out a little bit and then I'm gonna grab my rolling pin and I am just gonna roll this out. I want this to be about 18 inches long this way and 12 inches long this way. So take a minute, really work out your dough, stretch it out. This will give you a good little arm workout if you need one. Okay, I think that's looking great. So now it's time to put the filling on. So I'm just gonna grab my filling right here and I am just going to kind of plop it on there and then spread it out. This smells amazing. This is gonna be so good. I really just wanna take a little bite of that filling because it really smells good. So just spread it out, spread it out, spread it out all the way to the edges if you can. Oh, this is gonna be so good. No wonder these kids like the cinnamon rolls so much. They really are yummy. I definitely like using the paste as opposed to melted butter and sprinkling on the brown sugar and the cinnamon. I just think this works out a lot better. It's a little less messy. It all stays in a little bit better. Okay, from here, you just want to roll up your dough into a log shape. You can do it this way, whichever way you want to do it. I will do it this way today. So you just want it to be kind of tight. Just get it going and just roll it up. That's it. Don't be concerned with perfection. Like I say, this is homemade. We don't care if it's perfect. It's gonna taste good. That's what I care about. Okay, when you get it rolled up, then you wanna kind of pinch your seams together. That'll keep your filling in there as best as you can. Some of the filling is just gonna come out as it bakes. And that's really nothing you can do about that. It's gonna be totally fine. So just pinch the seams together and then kind of try to roll it a little bit, kind of get it to close. And you don't even have to do anything to the ends. Okay, there it is. That's looking great. The trickiest part about making cinnamon rolls is getting them to all be about the same size when you cut them. So I like to make a little guide on top. And I'm trying to make 12 rolls. This recipe makes 12 good sized cinnamon rolls. Now, I like to use my bench scraper dough cutter tool. You can use a really sharp knife. You can use dental floss. There's so many different methods, but this is the easiest that I have found. So I'm gonna cut my rolls and I'm gonna put them on my baking sheet. This is a 10 by 15 cast iron baking sheet. This thing is great. This cooks my cinnamon rolls perfectly. So I'm gonna put 12 rolls onto here, and I'm just gonna start cutting. I'm just gonna cut right on my little guide and stick it on the baking sheet. This way does kind of squish them out a little bit, but I think they're totally fine. These are gonna be amazing. I mean, they smell so good. I wish y'all could smell these. They are gonna be so yummy. I'm just gonna cut all of my cinnamon rolls exactly like this until I have all 12 on my baking sheet. We're getting down to the end here, and it looks like I measured correctly, which is just a miracle. Okay, so all of these should be about the same size. Obviously, a few of them are a little bit bigger, but I think that worked out just fine. Okay, so as you can see here, I have them on my baking sheet. They're spread out about an inch or two in between each one. And now I am just going to let these rise just like this on the counter for about 45 minutes. And after 45 minutes, they're gonna be risen nicely, and I'm gonna pop them in the oven. So I will show them to you when they're risen. I wanted to make sure you could see these really well. This is what my cinnamon rolls look like cut, and they are just starting to rise. So I'm gonna let them rise for about 45 minutes, and then I'll show them to you. All right, my cinnamon rolls have been rising. It's only been about 35 minutes, but I think they look ready. It's pretty warm in my home today, so I think that's helping everything rise a little bit faster. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop these in the oven for about 30 minutes at 350 degrees. All right, our cinnamon rolls are fresh out of the oven. Don't those look good? Now, if I were critiquing these, I'd probably say, oh, those look like they got a little bit dark. But no, I think for cinnamon rolls, you need to get them a little bit more brown than you think, just to make sure that they're totally cooked in the middle, because there's nothing worse than an undercooked cinnamon roll, and I have had those before. So I think these look great. Now it's time to make the glaze. I'm gonna let these cool just for a few minutes while we're making the glaze. And the glaze is super simple. All you need is 3 tablespoons of melted butter. It can be not quite melted, a little bit softened would be good. So 3 tablespoons of melted or softened butter, 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Just gonna add this into my bowl with it. So 2 teaspoons. Okay. Now I'm gonna do 2 cups of powdered sugar. Good old powdered sugar, confectioner's sugar, whatever you wanna call it. So 2 cups, it's right on in there. Let's see. Okay. And 4 tablespoons of milk. Okay, you can also use like cream or half and half if you have that, but I'm just using plain old whole milk. Okay, so now this is just gonna be a glaze. It's not gonna be super thick like icing. It's gonna be more like a glaze. So let me just kind of mix this up really good. You can use beaters if you want, or like a whisk, but I'm just gonna make a huge mess right here and try to stir it up. I've just been stirring it up for a minute or two. Just wanted to get all of the little clumps out from the powdered sugar. So you can see this is a nice glaze. It's definitely not thick like an icing would be. It's just nice and thin. It's just gonna go on really nicely. So these are still pretty warm, but I think it'll be just fine. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put our glaze all over our cinnamon rolls. These cinnamon rolls are huge. They look nice and big, and they're gonna be scrumptious. So I'm just gonna kind of pour this all over it just to make sure I can kind of get an equal amount on each one. Okay, I think I got all of the glaze out of the bowl that I could. This glaze tastes really good on its own, so I recommend that you lick your finger when you're making this, because this glaze is amazing. Okay, these are nice and warm, so I'm gonna let them sit for just a few minutes to let this glaze melt into them. It'll make them even softer, sweeter, and yummier. So I'm gonna let them just sit here for a couple minutes, and then I'm gonna try one. Oh my goodness, don't these look so good? You can see that glaze is melting in there. Ooh, yum. Okay, it's been a few minutes. I've let the glaze kind of melt into them a little bit more, and my whole house smells amazing. Smells like cinnamon rolls. I'm just gonna go ahead and get into one. I've got to try this. Oh my goodness. That looks yummy. Okay, I'm just gonna pick it up and eat it. Oh my goodness. These are so good. I think these are totally easy to make, especially using the bread machine dough cycle. These are so yummy. There are quite a few steps, but they're kind of a labor of love, but super easy still. Totally worth it to get to eat one of these yummy, huge cinnamon rolls. So I will leave the recipe down in the description. Make sure you try these and let me know what you think about them.
Subscribe for more easy recipes. I'll see you next time on Robin on the Farm.